Carrie, how did you get started making these creations?
I started making these actually for myself. I make jewelry as well, and I needed some place to get them off of my bathroom counter for my husband's wishes. So I started making them for myself, and then I had others say, oh, you should do that.
Tell me a little bit about the craft show, because it is different than just your typical craft show, right?
It has everything from home goods, like baked goods, to quilted things, to crochet, jewelry. It just has a huge gamut, and all our local artisans.
Tell me a little bit about this particular board. What inspired you here?
I find all of my knobs and hooks from the Restore or from like Goodwill, and I just like the vintage and that they're all different, but yet they go together. This is actually a piece of wood that was used, I believe, for our fence, and I just trimmed it down, and then that's an old-fashioned nail that I used to put that there.
And this is just painted?
that.
And this is great.
It's just an old, cheap little vase I found that I just wired on with a couple beads from my beading supplies. And then this is chalkboard paint, so I just put that on there as just an example of what you could do if you wanted to use it as a to-do list. This one has some really awesome vintage-looking old hooks that even have old paint on them. I have no idea whose house they were, but I just think they're fabulous.
Yeah.
And then I did some stenciling here with stain instead of paint and sanded it down, and then I made some burlap little embellishments to go with it.
Kind of shabby chic.
Yes. This is what I start with. This is just a smaller version of it. And again, I got this from the Restore. It's an old, pretty nasty door. I have no idea where, bathroom, kitchen, and I don't want to know. So I start with just this, and then I take a power sander, which my husband is a builder as well, so he has all the tools that I've taken into using. So I power sand it down and get all the varnish off.
If you didn't have a power sander, could you sand it
by
hand?
Absolutely. It just would take a long time. I tried that at first and then said no.
The power sander is the way to go.
I got the power sander for the big stuff, yeah. It looks like when I have power sanded it, and I kind of distress the edges to give it a little more I don't know, zest, a little flair to it.
A vintage feel.
Yes. I've got most of the finish off of it, and then I sanded the inside too and taped it off to start to paint. And this one I have already painted.
Okay.
So it is actually ready now for one of my favorite parts, which gives it its uniqueness. I had a craft party too. I hold parties at my house for crafts, and so everybody got to do this. So you just take a piece of sandpaper, it's already prepped, and then you're just going to sand off all that hard work of painting that you just did and give it that distressed look.
It's like the antique look.
And you can do it as much or as little as you want. You can do the edges, you could do a spot in the middle, just to give it that roughed up antique vintage look, but yet it's brand new.
It's so easy.
So then with this phase, you can either, this one does not have any stain on it, so you could either take this and stain now and make this really stand out darker, or you can leave it the light wood, whichever suits your fancy. I actually have distressed already.
Okay.
And I've pre-drilled my holes and selected my pieces that I already want to put in for the knobs. This one's from the Restore. It even has tape on it still. I think it was 50 cents or something silly like that. So then I would just
place them on there.
Go through my bag of goodies and pick out which ones I like. And I just have everything from an old coat to knobs, all different kinds. Porcelain.
This is great.
I love those.
And you're just repurposing things that you find that speak to you.
This one we'll put here.
So you're basically just screwing these in here like as if you were putting a knob on a cabinet drawer or... And this is blackboard paint? Chalkboard paint?
I just got this one at the local hardware store, and it's the Rust-Oleum kind. It's good.
How many coats does it take?
Half hour in between, let it dry, and at least 2 to 3 coats. And then
Okay.
you have to let it cure before you get, for 24 hours before you should actually write on it. Okay, so once you have those on, then you're going to use just whatever embellishments you want.
Okay.
A couple of mine, I have an actual just old clothespin that you can hot glue on there, and then that would be what would hold your chalk.
Yeah. About how long total time does it take to make one of these?
Because of the drying time and just dependent on the weather, because I do it outside in the barn, it could take just a couple hours, like 3 to 4 hours, or it could take all day if it's really moist outside.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a project that I think, you know, folks could do at home.
Absolutely.
Or you could just come and get one of these already made.
That's what I'm hoping for.
These are great. Thank you so much.
Let me do it for them.
Yeah, so much personality. We really appreciate you showing us how to make them.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.